Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey watching Darcey and Stacey. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor, and I like to watch these shows and react to it and record them and then post it on YouTube. So let's see if Florian's sugar likes to taste Stacey's honey. Was that how it goes? Let's get to the show.
Not yet, but as you know, Georgie and I have been planning on him coming up to Connecticut, and I wanted to make sure that you guys are still comfortable and okay with it.
Do you think this is a good idea? Like, you always said it was a good idea to make these steps to the last two relationships, but look how that turned out.
Yes, I feel like this is a true test. And it'll help me know if he's the right one or not. This time around, I don't want to waste that time. If something doesn't feel right, then, we can go our separate ways.
Yeah.
All right, so this is interesting. The daughter is saying, you went too fast in the past, so do you think you might be going too fast now? Moving in with a guy that you've essentially gone on a couple different dates with. So it's a viable question, particularly for a caring daughter. And this time, Darcey is saying something different than she has in the past, which is, yeah, it's fast, but, sink or swim. The relationship we'll figure it out if it's a good relationship or not right away. From that statement, we hear from Darcey that she's saying she's not sure if the relationship is going to work out. She's saying it might work out, and I hope it does, and we'll see. But it might not work out, and there's no better way to find out than moving in with the guy right away. This is encouraging because my hypothesis, total speculation, about her in the past was that she was so desperate for relationships and had such low self-esteem and low self-worth and a low sense of herself, such that she needed to have a relationship work out. She desperately needed and wanted a romantic relationship to work, and any evidence to the contrary, she would deny and fight against. So she was 100% sure that Jesse was the one until it was absolutely clear that he wasn't. She was 100% sure that Tom was the one until it was absolutely clear that it wasn't. But with Georgie, she's like, well, we'll see. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I hope it will. So this is a good sign. So I guess we'll find out as the season progresses. So one of the benefits to her having this more nuanced, more realistic approach to this is that if something happens where there's a conflict between her and Georgie, some problem, she is better able to withstand it and approach it from a differentiated space. Because in the past, when there was information that maybe it wasn't working out or that there was a little bit of a problem, she would vacillate either between conflict and fighting against it or denying it or even falling apart. She would, very much fall apart because she didn't have herself to fall back to. So with this approach, if there's a problem with her and Georgie, she's like, well, I kind of predicted that maybe this would happen, and I have my people I can go to. I hope I have a little bit of self-esteem, or I hope that she can say that she has a little bit of self-esteem that she can fall back on. And then when that happens, you're more flexible with how you approach the conflict. You're able to vacillate between, well, I want to fix the conflict, but what if it doesn't? What if I can't fix it? I want to reach out and try. I want to interface, but maybe I need to back away in this moment because they're in a bad mood or we're both in a bad mood. It's that flexibility, that's differentiation, the ability to, when you need to, separate yourself from another person and reassess. That actually gives you the strength to go back over and approach people to resolve conflicts. If you're completely dependent on needing to constantly be close to them when there are threats, you're compelled to meld with them and do whatever they say and try to please them. Or two, the contrary, the reason why you're melding with other people so forcibly and so inflexibly is that the alternative is to be alone and in despair and with no resources to withstand the loneliness and the rejection. So hopefully she'll be able to navigate that well. Because I'm guessing, I have no idea, but if her aunt, Tom had his own issues as well. And because they had that difficulty, I think it actually interfered with their relationship. I think they actually could have worked out. There was evidence early on in the relationship that I think it could have worked out, but the conflict got so bad that eventually I think they just had so much resentment, particularly Darcey towards Tom. Anyway, let's continue watching.
I just thought, like, I don't want to see you hurt again. Like, the last 2 times, it just made me so upset. I feel like my mom loves him, but she's also the kind of person that falls in love very easily.
I mean, but also they only met a couple times on a coat.
Yeah. It's like, she saw a future with these 2 relationships that she had in the past. Those experiences, like, weren't good for any of us, and, like, that's why I'm, like, super cautious now.
Yeah, and this is something I've been worrying about from the beginning, is the emotional toll that it's taking on the kids. They seem well adjusted, but it's just hard to tell. You hear in one of the daughters that she seems to be getting a little bit more resentful of the situation, a little bit more pessimistic, like, oh, we've seen this before. So you'll hear on the internet people judging people like Darcey for exposing their kids to their dating life. Exposing children to your dating life isn't inherently damaging. What are we looking for to differentiate between damage to children and neutral? One, they can become attached to those individuals, and then when you decide that you're not going to work out with that dating relationship, that can be an attachment disruption for that child. Obviously, that can be a problem. Another one is just witnessing your parent go through the ups and downs emotionally of dating. That's very distressing for a kid, even for teenagers, even for of any age, for any of us, no matter what age, to watch our parents have the normal ups and downs of relationship chaos and rejection and sadness and anger can be very distressing to a child, because we as children want to protect our parents, and to watch our parents fluctuate in what is really common in dating relationships is very distressing to a child, and so particularly for younger kids. So that would be another damage. Essentially, it puts the child in this position where they either just have to absorb all the suffering and cry themselves to sleep at night, or anxiously await the result of the next date, or they have to turn away from the parent. Or even, and one of the ways that children will turn away from the parent to protect themselves from the emotional onslaught is to actually judge and reject the parent and say, my mom, she's so stupid when it comes to dating. One of the daughters seems to have some red flags of that. It's hard to tell, but there seems to be some indication of that. So those are the main things that I would be looking for. Those aren't the only things. Now, you can date, and your kids can know about it. Your kids could even meet the people that you're dating sometimes and have it not go terribly for the kids. The main thing to look for is, do the kids know and really feel the ups and downs emotionally that you're going through? And are the kids being emotionally, are they attached to the people you're dating as they come in and out of their lives? The second one, you could have them meet the person you're dating, and as long as it's not framed as like this is going to be a long-term thing, or as long as it's brief, like you just go to the aquarium together or something. For most kids, not all. Some kids will latch on really fast. Most kids aren't going to get too attached. They might just think, oh, it's just a friend of my mom or something. And you could also, as you're dating, have a lot of emotional ups and downs, but you go to your therapist, you go to your friends, you go to people your own age to vent and get support and to express those feelings that you're having as you're phasing in and out of different dating relationships. And your kids have no idea what you're going through. And they might even ask, oh, what happened to Tom? And you're just like, well, him and I, we decided to call it off. We still like each other, but things have ended. And the kids might even be curious and say, oh, what happened? What happened? And as a parent, you just say, oh, don't worry about it. It's just adult dating stuff. And, sometimes it takes a while to figure out if you're a good match. And we just decided that we're not a good match. And so back to the drawing board. So protecting your kids from the ups and downs and the suffering that you're going through is important. It's complicated and there's a lot of nuances, but generally speaking, those are the guidelines.
Just so we don't have to go through all of that drama again. What do you see with him? Because are you living in the moment right now? Or are you thinking in the future?
I'm thinking for the future. I think we're both thinking for the future.
When you're in a relationship, you expect to be treated well. And the last two, they didn't even
Make an effort?
Yeah, it was made it an afterthought. It sucks.
It makes me sad that my daughters worry about me getting hurt again in a relationship, because I don't want them hurt.
So that was a nice moment for Darcey. The daughters were saying, you deserve better, and Darcey feels, oh, my daughters are worried about my well-being. That makes me sad, and she reached out with her hand. So, it was a good moment. Now, it's also possible that Darcey in that moment suddenly realized, oh, wait, my kids are worried about me. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't want my kids to have to worry about their mother in that way and be exposed to that chaos. I wonder if Darcey was feeling that as well. It seemed like she was, at least a little bit.
It's better just to keep it to ourselves and just get married and tell them later. We don't need people in our ears trying to say it's not the right time or why'd you do it like this.
Listen to me, it will save people. I follow my heart.
The negative comments or just people trying to sway our decision. I just feel like it's for us to work out, and it's our relationship. It's nobody's business but our own.
So this makes me a little sad, honestly, that for Stacey, she wants to get married. Florian they both want to get married, and they don't want to tell anyone because they don't want other people to comment negatively on what's happening. Well, what that tells me is that she predicts, probably quite accurately, that other people are going to judge the two of them. And that makes me really sad. I mean, they're grown adults. They should be able to do what they want. And outsiders should just respect that and just be like, well, that's what they want to do. I'm worried about what's happened, for Darcey and the dad, maybe the mom, I don't know, maybe even Stacey's kids, which we haven't seen at all yet. They might be worried about Stacey, be like, oh no, what if this doesn't work out? Or, give it some more time or whatever. Or us as viewers, we might say, give it some more time. And that's our opinion. That's the family member's opinion. That's fine. But at the bottom line, I just feel like Stacey throughout her life has been ignored, and Darcey as well. But Stacey in a particular way, because as I've been hypothesizing the roles that Darcey and Stacey had growing up, it seemed to be that Stacey was the good girl, the one who got a good attention for being compliant and nice and not obtrusive to anybody. And Darcey took on the role of the person who would speak out and get angry and would fight other people for their rights. And Stacey always knew that Darcey would do that fighting for her. And Darcey always knew that Stacey would be able to maybe get some good things because she was a good girl for the two of them, if that makes any sense. A lot of times siblings will develop those kinds of roles, particularly when you're close in age like twins. And so I just get this feeling, and I would have to ask Stacey about this, that throughout her life she hasn't been given anything that she really needs or wants because she learned as a young person to just not ask for things that she wants or needs. And she might not even really know what she wants or needs because she hasn't been given enough of a venue to explore that. I don't know. This is a lot of speculation. But what this shows me is that in this moment, what she needs is she wants to get married, and she needs her family to be non-critical and non-judgmental and supportive of her decision to do that. And she doesn't predict that that can happen. And so she's actually going to hide that information from them, because she totally predicts that they're not going to be nice to her. They're not going to, and by nice, what I mean is that they're not going to intuit or know what Stacey needs. In a different situation, you could imagine someone like Darcey, like the dad, like others, would be like, well, I'm not so 100% about this marriage, but I know Stacey really needs me to support this. And she really needs me in her corner because this is a big moment for her. And so I'm going to put aside my anxieties because it's not helpful in this moment. And I'm going to be 100% supportive of her because I love her and I know how fragile she is in this moment. So I would think that that might be what she's looking for and really not what she's getting.
Roy and I love each other, and we're fighting for our love, and we want to be together. So we don't really need anybody to tell us otherwise. Maybe they're going to be upset, but at the end of the day, it's me and you. It's our relationship.
So this leads to a lot of other problems. So because the family has basically a pattern of judgment and criticism and not intuiting other people's needs, maybe not communicating your own needs, or maybe not even knowing your own needs very well, this leads to Stacey in the situation where she either tells the family and incurs a bunch of criticism and judgment and chaos. And maybe even Florian's issues get triggered, and then Stacey's like, well, now I have to deal with Florian getting upset, which is going to ruin everything. And so she can either go down that road and involve them and, risk a lot of chaos and problems, or she can cut herself off from her family and get married. And the family system put her in that position where she has to choose between the lesser of two evils. And if she chooses what she believes the lesser of two evils, which is, well, I'm not going to tell them, and they'll be upset at me, but I'd rather have that than the chaos of actually involving them. And what does that do? Well, what that does is now the family's going to be hurt. They're going to be upset, and they're going to maybe distance themselves from her or him or something. It's starting their marriage together on a bad foot in relation to the broader family. And it also sends this message that in order for these two to actually be happy, they have to distance themselves from their support system. So there's all these problems that this is a solution to the problem of the wedding, but it sets up a lot of problems in the future.
Nobody else needs to meddle in that.
Yeah, it's nobody stop me or be life together with you. Nobody can try to stop.
Right.
Now, what am I suggesting as a solution? Well, a family therapist could get involved and really drill down on Florian and Stacey, what they want, what they need, and get the other family members involved. Instead of judging and criticizing and stonewalling and throwing up all these barriers, they can just express their feelings of fear and hurt or whatever. There could be apologies, there could be understanding, and then the family can be dislodged from the hurt and the lack of communication and move forward. There might be some nuances there, but there would be a way for everyone to get their needs met and to communicate their needs. What's happening right here is essentially avoidance and more of a chasm, more resentment. Like, I could imagine the family after this being so resentful of the fact that they didn't involve them and targeting Florian and saying Florian is the enemy because he's an interloper into the family. He sort of weaseled his way in, or whatever the narrative is. But I can imagine that this not being a good foundation for accepting Florian into the family system. But right now, to Florian and Stacey, this seems like the best choice. If you just look at this particular choice, it's like, well, it's so much easier just to not involve them. But unless you're telling yourself, we're never going to involve them, and this is our first move, because that's a viable option. Some of you might have even done this in your life. Your family is so toxic that you have absolutely distanced yourself from your family. But I don't think that's what Stacey wants. I think she wants to still be involved with her family, but she just wants this decision to not be around the family. Now, maybe this will work out. We'll find out together as we watch the show. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, on which I watched the TV show called Darcey and Stacey and react to it and post it on YouTube. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.